All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to episode 22 of Growth Talk. We're here with Kevin, the INFJ. Kevin, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good. I'm glad to have you on. Glad to have another episode. And yeah, definitely excited to talk to someone with my same functions, but in the reverse. There's definitely a lot can learn from you today. So yeah, looking forward to that. So your type, if I have it right, is MF, NIFE, blast, play, consume, sleep. Is that
Yep, that's right.
okay? Awesome. So what does an INFJ mean to you? Like, what would you say is the archetype in your opinion of what that is?
Yeah, I thought about this a little bit when I saw you were going to ask this. That's hard for me because I haven't really looked at the spectrum of INFJs that much. Mostly
Mm-hmm.
trying to understand how it is for me, and trying to understand like my issues that I have. Different things, and how seeing my type. Is it the issues that I'm seeing, or is it the type that I'm seeing? I've had to spend a lot of time processing that. I guess part of it seems to be like monitoring the vibes of people
Mm-hmm.
all the time, just constantly being aware of what people are feeling and valuing around you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of it. And projecting out into the future, like if certain decisions are made this way or that way, how is that going to affect other people? And deciding maybe if I want to do something and I know other people won't value it, to maybe I have to not let them know, that my decisions, and
Mm-hmm.
work around people and keep people in the dark about things. Because if their vibe gets messed up, that's going to affect my vibe. So
Sure.
it's constantly trying to not affect other people's vibe negatively. And then me just because I'm always moved by everybody else's vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying now to try to learn that I can actually do stuff proactively on my end instead of just letting myself go all over the place all the time.
Yeah.
Finding this stuff, and studying and starting to do a lot of sleep processing. I, I notice when my vibe is moved, my reaction is very negative,
Mm-hmm.
and I see that I was sort of blaming the outside world all the time for moving me. And so some of my sleep that I've been doing is like noticing that, and then what's happening in me when I'm going to this negative place. Why am I blaming the outside world? It's like something's
Right.
happening in me that I have control over. I just have never tried to control it before. So
Yeah. It sounds
um,
like you don't like, and by extension of that, you don't want to move other people's vibe because you know that you don't like that either, right? So you're kind of like
yeah,
doing the same there, and it
it's,
seems like the vibe of the tribe is deeply linked to your own kind of contentedness as well, I guess, right? Like if
yeah.
you feel like you do something that kind of violates that, I guess it kind of hurts you in a way, right? Or,
It's well, and part of that is a mindset too. Is like uh, I talk about it as like trauma was done to me as a kid about feelings and stuff.
yeah.
Like as a guy, it's like you're not supposed to have feelings. You're not supposed to express them. If you have feelings coming up in you, you need to get yourself out of the situation, get your
Mhm.
shit together, and then you can come back if you want or whatever. And I sort of internalized all that and projected it out onto everyone else too. Like no one's supposed to be having feelings. Just very negative shit that I'm
Mhm.
trying to undo now, finally.
Sure.
So it's like when I'm around people and they're having emotions and they're chaotic and all over the place, I have this, based on these beliefs that I downloaded as a kid, I have all these negative thoughts. It's like, why are you doing that? You shouldn't be doing that. What's wrong
Mhm.
with you? Don't you know you should go away and get your shit together and come back?
Yeah.
You don't have to be so emotional. So I'm having
Mhm.
to process this now because I never learned, how to deal with that. You're picking up everyone's, emotions and values and stuff. And what do you do with that? Do you just let it, go out of control, or how do you process that? And that's been a challenge to learn. I've been
Yeah.
doing this stuff to try to make it, better. Noticing that it's starting, catching that as early as I can, that I'm being triggered, what's happening. Oh, someone's having, and giving myself permission to not go down that path, basically. And understanding that they have permission, of course, to have whatever emotions they have, to express them however they want. It has nothing to do with me. Like, I have to tell myself this now, and it's helping me. I've seen it, it gets better and better the more I do this practice. It's almost like meditation. Before I go and be around people, I have to do this thing. And then when I have to notice when it's triggered and pull myself out of it a little, and it's like, what's happening here? That sort of thing. So
yeah, not something somebody would guess as far as a stereotype or an INFJ would be concerned, right? But like I get it though, because it's like anything you kind of judge yourself on, which usually comes from other people or when you're young, right? You usually judge other people for it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like even for me as an IP, if I see other people doing behaviors that look very IP, like I get triggered by it. If somebody's like putting their significance out there, like that's something that I don't like want to do, or I don't want to like, do this, with the rest of the tribe. So if I see somebody else doing that, then I also get triggered by that, right? Because I don't want to be doing that. And it's funny how that gets reflected out like into the world, right? Like it's
yeah, I guess we all do that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody has, like, before I learned this, I thought everybody should be like me. And then when I see when they vary from what I would do, it's like, you must be broken in some way. Why are you doing that? And I think, why would I do that? And I would only do that if I was trying to be a piece of shit, or something like that. So
yeah, that's exactly it, right?
That must be why you're doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Somebody behaves in a certain way, and then you say, okay, so what does that mean when I behave like that?
Right.
Well, that means something negative. Okay.
So that must be,
yeah.
It's so messed up when you realize something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a nice thing about OPs. You really do learn that. Okay, how like, or at least you get some evidence of how different people are, between themselves, and you can kind of like, at least for me, it's definitely helped give people more the benefit of the doubt and stop like seeing their actions and their behavior through my own lens of, what I think people should do or do in this situation and everything. And I think it's really helpful, but it almost feels impossible to ever really know like just how different everyone is. And like, what is it like to be in somebody else's head for a day? Like how different is that from my experience? I feel like that's something I would really like to know, but it might be impossible. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's impossible, right?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely helps to judge people less harshly, especially like you're like, well, if they're having struggles there, they have some strength somewhere and maybe that's, maybe we're flipped on that. Like I have a strength in that area, but I'm weak in this other area. So it's been a lot of help for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes like kind of both ways too, right? Where you see someone that, well, they just seem amazing. You're like, well, there's got to be something going on there. Like I can't be the only one with issues, right? Like,
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely helpful. Yeah, could you? I know that you, at least I think I remember. I think you had yourself as a different type, but you weren't that far off. I think in what you were. I don't think you saw yourself as TI.
TI, NI, yeah. I thought NI was a savior. Yeah. I thought the reason is I thought FE was this huge, massive problem in my life. It had to be my fourth function, right? Because it's the worst thing in my life. And I do see that it actually is, but it has nothing to do with my type. It has to do with this trauma that I had growing up. And so it affected how I'm seeing myself a lot. And so a lot of the work I'm doing, I do see that it is undoing some of that trauma that I had around FE, basically.
That's great. So
and even some more trauma around the SE, because it was like, you're a guy, you're supposed to be this badass at the sensory world. And that's like my weakest function is the SE. So it's like, I mean, it helps that it's masculine. And I do see that when I apply myself to the sensory world, I can do average, sometimes above average, but right in the bell curve, It's just, it's not something that I'm wired to really love to do.
Sure.
To put all my effort into it to be average, I'm kind of like, why do I want to do that? You know, if
Yeah.
I'm going to spend all this effort and I'm just average, I can do other things. So
yeah.
um,
Yeah. Can understand that. But I think the cool thing is though, even like, I mean, the fact that you have all your other functions kind of already supporting the SE, I think when you do get it wrangled, I think you'll have your own unique and specialness when it comes to your ability to do that. I think the same with FE for like ISTPs and stuff. You know what I mean? Because like, you know, I think your FE can be a lot more powerful if you have the ST and everything kind of backing it up. I feel like it's kind of the same for everyone's fourth function, you know, or the last animal even, right? Like,
yeah,
I think, you know, like if you look at a consumer who has blast last, you know, they can't really tell you anything. They can't teach you nothing. They can't really communicate. But what if they could? Then they have all that consumed that they can like, you know,
yeah. When
can
they get
finally
down to the blast,
express,
it's
right?
powerful. Yeah, it's really good stuff.
Exactly. I think it's the same for everyone. That last thing that
Yeah.
I think that you won't be average at it. I think you'll like actually be really amazing at it because you have everything else to back it up. You know what I mean? But that's how I feel about it anyway. But.
Sounds good. I like it.
Okay, great. By
Feminine
the way, I
and
think
I. It's like, yeah.
your mic might be rubbing against your shirt. I'm not sure, but
Is
I feel like you're like a
Okay.
rubbing sound. I don't know where your mic's at. But
Try to stop moving.
there you go. It's not too bad. If it makes you uncomfortable, then don't worry about it.
That's cool.
All right. Well, so and I guess now that you know your type, and it seems like you processed a lot of stuff since figuring that out, could you see like how you were kind of an INFJ when you were young, or do you feel like it didn't really fit when you were growing up so much?
So INFJ when I was young. That's tough. I could see the NI because I was always like into puzzles. I would sit for hours just working on like jigsaw puzzles and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Seeing patterns and things, I was always like, that was like crack to me. You know, like I want something where I can try to find, you know, clues in things and, you know, match things up. And so I can see the NI a lot. But see, like this trauma that I got around the feelings and stuff. I mean, I can see that I was aware of people's feelings. So, and just trying to find out how do the adults in my life, how do they want me to be? Just tell me, and I'll make myself be that way. Yeah, it was just but seemed like my type is like very extroverted, and I never saw myself that way at all. Anytime I took any of these kind of like personality tests and stuff, it's like I got like extreme introvert, you know.
Yeah.
Which I type myself like sleep, consume, blast, play.
Mhm.
You know, when I was trying to type myself, because I definitely see myself that way. But it's a lot of it I can see now. It's a lot of it has to do with having social anxiety for most of my life, and just I can see at some point, like around my parents split at 9. I was very, very shy at that time. And then by the time I entered high school, like age 14, I had social anxiety really bad. So it was just seeing myself as an extrovert, like when I got my type, is like, how could that be possible? So I had to process that. It's like, how do I have savior, blast, and play? I mean, it's like, it made no sense to me at all. So I can see that at some point, you know, when you're basically told you have to be amazing at sensory and forget about this feeling thing, it's like, okay, let me just turn off my extroversion.
You're being
Because
told you have to be an ISTP or an ESTP, basically.
what the hell am I going to do? Yeah, it's like I can sit here and just be quiet and go into my head.
Yeah.
And I learned how to do that really well. Just be quiet and observe. Don't say much. And so, yeah. Go ahead.
I guess that's kind of a common misnomer, right? Is that if you are an extrovert, you don't have social anxiety, whereas like social anxiety is something you have. I guess whether you're an introvert or extrovert or not, I guess a lot of people get that wrong a lot of the time, right?
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
I mean, I can see how it developed, because it's like, if you think no one should be having emotions, and you freak out basically mentally when people are doing that around you, it's like, I don't want to be around people, and I don't want to speak, you know, and interact, because it's gonna, you know, emotions are gonna be all over the place.
Yeah.
So I'll go places, and then that happens, and then I want to get the hell out of there.
Sure.
And then pretty soon you're like, why do I want to go there? Is it worth what I'm going to put myself through to be around people?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, because probably when people are having feelings going outward, you probably have some of those same feelings of when you have feelings and you're told, no, you can't have those.
Yeah, because when their chemicals are moving, it's like this is what I process. I would have said it makes my chemicals move, but it's not. It's me making them move. I'm perceiving it, and then I'm doing something extra to make mine move. And I do see that I have, some control over that.
Sure.
If I can spot it as soon as I, notice it.
So did you ever feel like you had a responsibility though? Like when people did have those emotions, did you feel a responsibility to change that? Or was it more like you had a responsibility to make sure that didn't happen? Or what's the...
I think these beliefs just kick in so fast. It's like, why are you doing that? Don't you know you shouldn't be doing that?
Yeah.
So I think the thoughts or whatever are there that I should probably do something about this, but they're just overridden so fast that it's really hard to see it. That's why it was hard for me to see Effie as a savior. It's like,
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that must have been
how is that possible? It seemed ridiculous because the description of INFJs are like this, they're martyring themselves to help people, and emotionally and stuff, and when people are suffering, they want to go help them, and I'm just like, I never want to do that. Like, why would I ever want to do that? But I do see that it probably is there. It just is overridden so fast that it is hard to see it. But I do see it when they're, when I see it, I'm like, I can see that there is a thought there. But I'm like, I don't know this person. Why are they? And then it's like instantly just, why are they doing that? And they should just, But yeah, I've been working to overcome that even. But I'm kind of in a weird place right now because I've never been in this state that I'm in where I'm not so stressed by everyone's emotions. I've done a lot of work to get here, but now I'm like, I need to process what this is like because I've never experienced this before.
Sure.
So. It's very strange.
Yeah, strange, but probably a relief too, right? Like probably
it is because I sense that I have these negative chemicals racing through me all the time, and now that's died way down, and it's a different physical sensation. I'm being weird when I speak about emotions. I know that, but I have alexithymia, which is like a blindness to your own emotions. And when I describe it, people with FE usually kind of relate a lot because it's like, I don't know what I'm feeling ever. It's like a black hole when I try to look when someone asks me feeling questions. But I think it could be, related to this trauma I got growing up, being told don't have feelings. Or you can be born with it. So I'm not sure which it is for me, but
sure.
I have no memory of ever having an awareness of my own emotions. But that's FE. A lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you don't sound weird at all, at least to me when you talk about that. I can, definitely relate to that a lot. When you are in this kind of new state of being or this state with your own emotions, even, it's kind of like, well, where'd this come from? What does this mean exactly? And then you try to NT it out, or at least I do. Yeah. And because I want to know what led to this in case I want to go more down that path, or if there's something to be learned from it, or like that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Like I see that I want to process what were the thoughts that I had, leading up through that thing or whatever. But so it's weird.
So the way they classically, I guess, define introversion versus extroversion is, I guess, that you gain more energy being around people and you lose energy, I guess, if you're an introvert. Does that ring true for you or not so much?
It doesn't. I mean, since I'm classified as an extrovert now, it's like I still don't see that side of it because being around people just drains me immediately. But a lot of that has to do with this thing I was describing,
Yeah, exactly.
Around feelings and stuff. It's like that drains me. Like stressing about other people having feelings is draining for me. So it's like being around people is draining. Then
has it gotten to be less draining now that you've processed a lot of stuff?
It is, but like with COVID now, it's like you're not around people all that much.
Right. Yeah.
I don't go to a lot of big events or something like that, but I do notice that when I go places, I'm doing, this meditation kind of stuff to try to deal with this. And it's helping, but I don't do it a lot. So I'm not around people a ton. But
Right.
Saturday, no, it was Friday. We went to there's a brewery near us where you can like sit,
Mhm.
big open area. And my niece was visiting, and we took her there and got some drinks, and they had like live music and stuff. So we were kind of not too close to people, but out in the open a little bit. And it was fine. I was doing, these meditations and stuff, and it helped a lot. So it was so different because it's like I'm not used to being in
It
this
sounds like
state. Yeah.
big progress. That's great. Is it a meditation you do when you're with people, or is it something you do at home and then it kind of kicks in?
I normally do it if I'm alone. I normally do it like in the car before I go someplace.
Okay.
And then I've written these things down that I say and take it with me. So I can always like know that I have it and think about them, and that's helped a lot.
Is it kind of like a mantra meditation sort of thing, or is it?
It's kind of like just noticing. I noticed things that I thought would help me to notice, and it's like if I just say these things like notice this, notice that, notice it's just a lot of statements about noticing things in me and in others, and notice that I'm noticing them in other people, and notice that the other person has permission to feel whatever they're feeling, that kind of thing.
It's really being aware, I think. Yeah.
It's trying to get my awareness focused on that everything's okay, in the feelings realm, basically.
So you don't get wrapped up in your own kind of thoughts about the situation. You're more just present with what's going on.
And then the trick is to spot, being triggered like as early as I can. Sure. And I'm in this mode now where I'm just constantly noticing being triggered and then pulling myself out of it a little. Like, okay, what's happening right now? What just happened? What are my thoughts? What am I feeling physically?
Yeah.
And then just going through this, noticing other things.
Yeah. So you're kind of getting like distance from it a bit, in a way.
Giving myself permission to build new habits in these situations where it was just bad habits, spiraling.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I think that's one of the really cool things about meditation, I think, is because like all these bad thoughts or feelings or whatever it is, it kind of teaches you, to kind of step back and just see them. And then over time, since you're not really reacting to them, it kind of communicates to your brain that these aren't significant. So then they just kind of stop, I think, coming up like after a period of time, you know what I mean? And I think that's like can be really powerful for all sorts of stuff, for anything, any kind of trouble that you have. Eventually you communicate to yourself by just noticing that, hey, actually everything's okay. How my brain knows it's okay because I'm just noticing it. I'm not like getting crazy about it. You know what I mean? I think that's
Yeah, I've made the comparison to it's like I have code that runs all the time, and I'm commenting out this code and saying, this is the shit I used to do that was causing me to suffer, and I realize it now, and I'm commenting this out. And there's an if condition here where I'm like, if this is true and this is true, do this code. And now I'm saying, don't do that code, do this new code.
Yeah, getting rid of a lot of for loops, I would imagine.
Yeah.
A lot of recursive functions.
Yeah. It never ends, and you're stuck in this shithole.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, that sounds really awesome. I'm really, really glad to hear that. I probably could have used that when you were a kid as well. I would imagine. Probably, but I think the same way about meditation. Man, I could have used this a long time ago.
I think of that a lot. Yeah, actually, I studied meditation in my 20s.
Oh, really? Okay, that's a big start. Yeah.
Yeah. I was 30. I was 33 years old. I was about 60 pounds overweight, and I decided I'm going to use meditation to work on losing weight. And so I would notice when my brain was like, get up and go get something to eat. And I was like, okay, are you hungry? Have you had enough to eat today? Are you eating the right amount of food and the right kinds of food and all these things?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, something in me is just making me want to go eat. So it's like, okay, go get up and get like a pickle or something that's like no calories to just quench that desire that you want something. And it was like, then I was like dropping 10 pounds a month for like 6 months. And I was 60 pounds.
Yeah. It just stopped being a compulsion, it sounds like.
Yeah. It was like the same thing. Like you're stepping out of it. It's like, okay, I noticed my brain is telling me to go do this thing. What's happening? Why is it doing that? It's just a habit. It's like, you just got stuck in this thing.
Mhm.
So, and I had cut out, sugar and carbs and all these things to help with that. But yeah,
That's all.
it was the same thing. And so when I'm learning this stuff, this objective personality stuff, and I'm starting to notice triggers in different areas that I never really paid attention to. It's like I can do that same trick, basically just spot it and then step back and what's happening.
Yeah.
It's a lot like cognitive behavior therapy. If you've looked into that,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
or NT sleep seems like that to me. It's
Mhm.
like when I'm studying this, I'm like, wait a minute, this is the stuff we're doing in our head all the time.
Yeah. Totally.
So it's cool. The one thing was when I thought I was sleep first and got type sleep last. It's like, okay, what am I doing in my head all the time then? Because to me, it seems like I'm doing NT.
Yeah.
And then I had you on my channel and Odom, and we talked about sleep back then.
Yeah.
And I was telling you, like I'm always like processing reality, and I'm using NT all day at work because I write code for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to like, how could I be sleep last? It's like I see that I'm doing it all the time. But since then, since I talked to you, I realized actually I'm doing a combination of blast and consume in my head. I'm blasting all the time. I have this inner monologue that goes like nonstop all day long.
Okay.
Kind of insane. It's like monkey mind, but it's just constant. And what I'm doing is I'm blasting, and my consume, the ST is like, wait a minute, something you just blasted isn't quite correct.
Mm-hmm.
And my NT kicks in and figures out what is correct. And I, redo the blast. And so like when I'm writing code, for example, when they're telling me we need a program that does this and this, immediately I'm starting to blast things in my head. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, not right. That's not right. And then my NT is just instantly in there. No, you need to do this, this, and this. And that's my brain is doing that all day long. Or if I'm just out taking in the outside world and I'm spotting things like, okay, what is this? Something's different, something's off. Okay, well, what does that mean? But I'm not processing me. That's why I'm sleep last.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I mean, I am. It's like 1%. But I'm not doing that part of it. So once I learned this stuff and learned I'm sleep last, it's like, okay, well, what am I doing? And now that I know, oh, this is how I'm doing it. And now I can take note of the me stuff that my brain normally just says, I don't need to process that. Catch it, write it down, and then start journaling and doing this process that I'm already doing all day long. And I've learned it's easy to do those things. I just have to make myself do it.
Yeah.
And the more I've done it, the easier it is. And I see the value in it. So that's the motivation to actually do it more. And it's my first and third functions too. So it's not like.
It makes it a bit easier, right? Yeah.
I think. I mean, it seems that way to me. And I started writing code at, 20 something years old and got my job at 25. And I see that I'm just doing this. I figured out a hack basically to get to the NT, I guess, doing the blasting tool in my head all the time. And when I journal something and I'm trying to process something about me, it's like, that's how I do it. I blast something, I'm writing something down and I'm reading it, or maybe I'm blasting it in my head before I write it down. And my consume is like, wait a minute. And I update it. That's when it kicks off the NT. It's like, wait, okay, I think that, but what about this? You're fixing your thoughts, or you're like, really, like the process of doing this, I realized beliefs I had that I didn't know I had. I'm generating new information about me that I didn't have from doing this sleep thing. And that's very valuable because you're like, okay, if I didn't even know that was in there, I can't fix any of it. So I'm seeing that by doing this, it's like, oh, okay, that's the belief I had that I didn't know I had that's screwing me up or causing me to suffer. And now I'm like, I don't even believe that, but it's there. So what the hell is going on? Like, you have to try to figure out how to update it and delete it or whatever. But that's the tricky part.
Yeah, I can imagine. So yeah, it sounds like the big. I mean, you said a lot there, but the thing that I feel like one of the big themes in that was that so you were processing stuff. But you found that the difference of being, say, your sleep and sleep last is not so much that you are processing, but it's like, is that processing focused on you? Yeah. Not whatever the subject is necessarily.
Yeah. And it's like my brain says, you don't have permission, or it's cheesy or whatever to process you. I can see growing up, I was just like,
why does it feel cheesy? Or
because you're thinking about yourself. I guess if your demon self
Uh-huh.
It's like, why would I spend time thinking about me?
And I'm over here thinking, why wouldn't you spend time?
I know, right? It's like I have better things to think about than me. Like, why would I want to focus on me? You know?
Oh, okay.
That's
interesting. Yeah.
It's weird.
So does it still feel cheesy now?
It doesn't. Not at all. No.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Because I've seen the value in doing it. It's like
Mhm.
I never saw it, and I would see other people doing it, and it seemed trivial. Like, why would you ever spend time? Like, that's my wiring, right? It's like, why would you ever spend time thinking about yourself? It's like,
yeah,
it's like mental masturbation. Like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
But there's value in it, and I wasn't seeing that ever until recently.
Oh, that's really cool.
So
yeah. So can we? Is it when you were younger? Could you kind of see a lot of the things that you're kind of repairing now? Like, could you see yourself as a kid being also sleep loud, or did you see yourself having issues with the SC or having tidal waves or anything like that? Like, what was it? What was your relationship to your demons when you were young? Because I imagine it's probably quite different for you because you were kind of told from the beginning that should be your saviors, right? You know,
yeah.
I think that's a big thing with any male that's typed FE. They're going to have a kind of a really weird thing with their type because, like, culturally, you're not supposed to be FE. Or the same with women that are TI, right? You're going to have
same thing. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I wonder, what was
I mean,
that?
I could see with the SE, it's like wanting to show off, you know, physical prowess or whatever. Like jumping over fences, like David Shane talked about. You know, any opportunity if other guys are jumping over fences, like, of course I have to do it. I mean,
you feel that pressure.
You know, yeah, of course. Yeah. Why would I not? If I don't, the FE is where probably the FE kicks in. It's like, I'm lower on the, you know, I'm not equal with everyone else. I'm, you know, this wimpy little guy that won't, you know, jump a fence. So
sure. Yeah.
Like being aware that of my value if I don't do it to other people and thinking I have to do this. There's no getting out of it. And then I can tell a little story where I pushed myself to do SE. Basically was I was going to this camp. It was in Virginia, and they had a 30-foot dive into a lake. And I told this kid, I was 11 years old at the time. I told this kid, he's like, "Oh, I bet you won't," because I said I would jump off of it, and he said, "Oh, I bet you won't. I bet you $100 you won't." Oh, I'm doing it. There's no chance I wouldn't do it. So I climbed up there. I was 11, and my mom got in a boat in a canoe with a camera so she could take a picture of me just as I jumped off this top. You know, it's 30 feet up. And
so your mom was even into it too. Huh?
She was going to help me, right? So I'm climbing up this thing, and I'm seeing kids bigger than me, older than me, climbing down, too scared to jump. I'm like, oh shit, okay, I got to do this. And these guys are checking it out, and I just did it. I pushed myself to do it, and then I landed it. It like killed my feet because I didn't point my toes. I'm a stupid little 11-year-old, right? I came up like crying, like it hurt my feet.
Yeah.
But I was like, first thing I wanted to know was, did my mom get the picture? Because I had to show that kid that I actually did it. So she did it. And he never gave me the $100, but
yeah, of course he didn't, right? Little bastard.
He didn't mean it. Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I was scared shitless of a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm the SE person as a kid, and I wouldn't go off high stuff. And one time I was climbing something. I think it was like 7 or 8. I was pretty young, and I was climbing up some deal at this amusement park. And I got to the top of the thing, and I looked down. I realized how like far up, and I just started crying. Like, help me! And they had to get some like thing to come up and grab me to get me.
Oh wow! I
was so scared. Yeah, and so I mean, it's not just the demon SCs. Like, we're all scared of shit like that, I think. You know?
Yeah, and then like roller coasters and stuff at amusement parks. I always rode all those.
Oh really? I couldn't even ride those when I was a kid. Oh man! Especially the worst thing was that ship, which isn't even that big.
Oh, it's like a boat that just goes back and forth.
That feels like it's just gonna loop around. That used to scare the fucking shit out of me. I used to freak the fuck out on that thing. I feel like as an adult, these things don't really bother me that much. Like I could go ride a roller coaster, but it took me a long time to get to where I was just okay with that. But as a kid, I was not down with that shit. It scared the hell out of me.
So. Funny. Yeah, I rode all the stuff. And the scarier the better. And they had this one thing. It was like a tube that you stand along the wall on the inside of it, and it spins around.
Oh, I hated that fucking thing.
And the floor goes down, and you're like stuck to the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that.
Oh, man. Yeah. I did that once, and I should have known not to because I felt so sick afterwards. Like, oh, why did I fucking do that thing?
You don't want to be in there if somebody's barfing and stuff. It's like
that could have been me. I could have barfed over everyone. That could have easily happened. Good thing it didn't, but that was rough.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah. So I guess. So you're double activated on SC. So technically, you're a glass lizard. So it's gonna be a bit harder to see you as an I. Do you feel like TI was a harder thing for you to get your head wrapped around, or does SC really still like the biggest thing for you? For
Part of the SE is just the chaos of it, like with NI, like planning something and not taking into consideration that chaos could happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess the big thing for me always was, which I've worked on a lot with, like my wife, for example. Like I've been thinking all day. I've been in my head planning something that I'm going to go do, and then I am like, oh yeah, I need to let her know about it. And then I tell her, and she's like, oh, can you add this, this, and this to what you're doing? And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me.
It's gonna ruin things.
Chaos. I haven't had the time to like plan for that chaos. So I would just, I was a child about it. I would just rage quit. Like, okay, forget it. I'm not even gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I see how childish that is. And you should be able to roll with stuff. And
Yeah.
So now what happens is it's like I need to bring her in earlier when I'm planning something and say, tell me all the things. This is what I'm thinking of doing before I've really started to plan it. Let me know issues, concerns, or things you want or whatever, and then work that in. And also work in that chaos is probably going to happen. And I need to keep that in my mind all the time so that when shit hits the fan or something weird happens, I can be chill about it. And usually when I'm actually in a situation and it happens, I do fine. And reminding myself of that because I wasn't ever asleep processing that actually I'm kind of good in situations like that. Maybe I'm not as good as an SE lead or savior, but I take a little pause and then I'm like, okay, we got to get this shit figured out and somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the feminine and I kind of, right? Like there's a pattern of you actually being okay, but it's hard to, I think, remember that sometimes. Like, I struggle with that.
Yeah. And sleep last. It's like, I wasn't, maybe demon sleep is similar. It's like, I'm not tracking that actually in these situations, I'm kind of good.
Yeah.
There's a lag time where I'm like, oh shit, what the hell? What's happening? But then it kicks in, somebody's got to do something. Somebody got to, get us out of this situation.
Yeah, I can relate. Or even sometimes, I don't know if maybe you can tell me if this is how it is for you, but for me, it feels like, and this is probably SE speaking, but it's like, well, yeah, I'm usually okay in this situation, but this time might be different. You know what I mean? Even though it's not necessarily different, it could in some way be different. And
that's pretty good. No, I would think it's probably going to be mostly the same.
Okay.
And the difference
I need to think like that a bit more.
I would think the difference is I can handle it. It's going to be trivial, whatever the differences are.
Okay.
That might not be true, but that's probably the blast too. It's like I'll figure it out as I go. I'll jump into it, and
true.
I won't know those things until I actually get into it. So let me get into it, figure out what those things are as fast as possible.
Sure.
Then I can deal with it.
Yeah,
I'll have more time to figure it out. Yeah.
With the blast play, that probably makes it so much easier for you to handle the chaos stuff than it would be without that, right? So it must help balance you out a bit, I would think, to some degree.
I think it probably does, yeah. But I do see that I'm blast above Katsu because I'll just jump into stuff because I know that I already know a lot, and I don't know what I need to know that I don't know until I jump into it, and I can save myself a lot of time in the consume department. Because what will happen is I'll jump into something, I'll be like, oh yeah, I know 98% of this. I just need that 2%. Now I can go do that consume on just that little bit. And if I need to figure out where that 2% is, maybe I have to ask somebody. So maybe I have to bug someone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. On the opposite side with the consumer, I guess it's more like you feel like there's just an infinite amount of stuff still left to know. It just never ends. And you're able to no, there's 2% left. Whereas me, it's like, there's an infinite stuff. Surely I can't know everything. I need to know every single SE thing to do with this, or else I don't know it. You know what I mean? Just like
I get it, but yeah,
it
slows you down. The consume slows you down.
It does. Yeah, it gets in the way.
The thing about it that I noticed that you guys can consume so much and hold it, and it's like I can't do that because when I consume, I have to process it. So it takes a lot of time. So I'm slower to consume, And then even before I consume, it was like, wait, I know all that work I have to do each time I take in any new little chunks. Like for you, you might take in a lot. And for me, it's like I take in a chunk, I have to process it on a deep level and understand it, and then take in more, little bits at a time. Whereas, so I'm like, I have to consume that. Do I really need that? It's like, I know ahead with the NI. It's like, I know all the work I have to do with that consume all the time.
So believe it or not, I have the same issue. Depends on the subject though. So like in school, like math was the worst one, where like the teacher would be, going over some shit, and she would, say something, and I would take that in and I'd be like, wait, how does that work? And I'd have to like fact check it in my head, and I'd have to like process that. And then by the time I look back at the screen, she's already on to something else. And so I'm always like lagging behind to where I can't actually keep up with what's going on there. And so I wouldn't even go to class. I just read the book and try to process it that way. But it depends on what it is. So like if it's something that I already have like kind of the NI for, or it's something similar to something else that I know, then I can take in fuckload of info and retain all of it, blah, blah, blah. But if it's something very new or something that I don't have like just the general grasp of, you know what I mean? I don't have the point of or know it in a nutshell, then I have to sit there and really like, it's just my mind just works really slowly on stuff. But yeah, it depends on the subject, I guess. But I can definitely relate to that a lot, having to over process stuff. And I think it's also a TI thing a little bit too. Like if you're learning something that's like a system or something that can be logicked, it takes us a while because we can't just TE fit it somewhere and run with it. And we have to like not just like understand the information at face value, but understand what's behind it. Because we're kind of trying to build a model of the whole fucking thing, right? So we can't just like take something and run with it. We gotta understand.
Yeah, for me, it's like maybe it's part of the blast too. I have to like see where it fits in the stuff I already have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like in coding, you have pointers and stuff. This data is pointing to this, and this one's pointing to that. Yeah. Like I might have to like move these pointers and point to this new piece and fit it in between these other things.
Yeah,
I have to do that before I can go on to the next thing, because I'll lose track of that, especially with like feminine and eyes. Like new stuff coming in is just going to go away if I don't do anything with it. I have to like get it into the sensories.
Yeah. And so like, yeah, you have like a model, right? And you're trying to fit it in that model. And if it doesn't jive with your model, then you're like, okay, either I don't understand this thing correctly or my model's fucked up. So I gotta figure out what the issue. And that takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really insightful, and I'm surprised on how much stuff there is in common. I guess that's the general pattern actually for all these shows. I'm like, oh, I have a lot more in common with this type in this way and this way.
Yeah. I see that a lot with people in our quadrant, the beta. It's like I can kind of relate to most of the people, no matter the animals or anything. It's like,
and you feel like that you can understand what they're saying more and how they process stuff, and then also you kind of understand the behavior more of the person too.
Like I can see,
you know what I mean? Like you kind of get where they're at. You know, whereas
how you're getting there.
Yeah, I don't like I can't. I don't know if it's like their vibe or something, but like I can't feel this person all the way. Does that make sense? Like I don't have an understanding of this person somehow.
It's getting easier for me. Maybe I'm old guy now, but yeah, I mean, especially when you learn your function, your type, and then you're starting to learn. Like my wife's been type too, and I know her type, and like she has no function to count with me. So it's like, okay, you're doing that, and we're getting to the same place, but you're going this way, and I'm going this way. It's like that's helped a lot to understand the other functions for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because that was something I wanted to touch on if you're up for it. What is it like being in a relationship with someone who is, or being married to someone who is also an IJ, but the opposite sort of functions? Like how does that work with y'all?
Yeah, well, when she first got typed, and I saw the type, it wasn't what I had expected. I mean, I did think she was ST, and I thought she had Savior TE. I know she was a double decider. So I had some parts of it right. And I knew she had Savior play. Well, she's SI, TE, IJ. And she's got masculine sensory, which at first that hit me like, oh, they're always talking about, MF has to be with FM and that's like the perfect thing or whatever. And so there was a little ego there of like, shit, what am I going to do? Like, how do I tell people? I'm like, well, stop being a baby about this. This is the reality. We've been together 28 years. I don't care what her type is. Her type is whatever it is. So I'm like, I didn't think she had masculine centric though, but I thought she had SE.
Okay.
So I was comparing what I thought was her SE to mine, and I'm like, there's no way that's masculine SE also, because I see the timeline stuff is different, and my ability to like know the sizes of things, the weight of things, the distances from things, the angle, like this kinesthetic ability. I'm like, she doesn't have that at all.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that has to be feminine SE, but it's masculine SI, but she has consumed last. So I wasn't seeing the masculine side of it at first because I'm like, I had this image in my mind of masculine SI as like savant level ability to know all the details about all these different topics.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, she's consumed last. She's not taking in all that much new stuff all the time. IJ. So I'm like, she does have areas where she's kick ass, like bills and finances and stuff around the house, like organizing stuff here. Organizing our life. We have a daughter who's disabled, and she requires like a lot of medicines, a lot of doctor's appointments, and all that. And she's got that shit like locked down. She knows everything, the times and the amounts. It's the whiz, and it's like I see the value that she brings to our lives by having masculine SI. It's like,
sure,
I struggle with the centering. She actually helps me build it up, do better at it, because I'm like, this is a struggle for me, which it's like, especially her ST blast is like our ST consume is just like, this is great. It's narrowed down sensory. It's not all over the place. I'm like,
it's easy to take in, I guess.
With demon consume, it's like, she can help me consume a lot because I'm like, she's read, like we work for the same company. She'll read emails and I'll get this email. It's some topic I have nothing. Like, is there anything in this that I need to know? And she's just like, boom, boom, boom.
Okay. Just give you the bullet points kind of.
Yeah, it's great. I'm like, perfect. That's great. So another part was she blast play, just like I'm blast play. So I was like, that was a little embarrassing because it's like, we're supposed to be opposites, right? We're both IJs, both blast play, both masculine century. I'm like, how do I, process this? It helped me because when we met, and I'm like, social anxiety disorder, it's like, I'm not interacting with people. She's great with people. We go to family events. They love her. They think she's amazing. Everyone, social with her, talking and stuff. And I'm sitting over here by myself. And they're like, oh, we love your wife. She's great. She's amazing. Like, this is perfect. I can stay over here and be quiet, and she can do all the
socializing for you. Yeah, nice.
So it worked out good. And, and she just helps me in that way. It's like, I do see that she's energy dom and I'm info dom, and I'll see that I've just started to understand that better. A lot of people have been talking about it a while here in the community.
It's like a lot to discover there, I think. Yeah,
I do see that some things about our type differences have triggered me over the past. We've been together 29 years now, and it's like I see what it is. It's the NT play, or NT sleep. It's like, when she throws things out there, she's expecting I'm going to NT play with her. And I've never, until recently, understood what was happening in those situations. It was like, she's throwing it out there, and I'm like, oh, you want me to NT sleep something and give it to you, and everything's going to be great. And I would do that. I'd be like, I'll go into my NT. Okay, how about this? And that's not the game she's playing. And it's like, it'll get shot down because she's not thinking of it in that way. And I didn't understand that. And now that I see what's happening, it's like, and you even encouraged me to try to do NT play with her when we were chatting on Discord one time.
Oh, yeah. I remember that combo.
And I was like, I was in the mindset at that moment of just understanding it and being accepting of it. And just saying, look, I don't do NT play, but, if you want me to NT sleep for you, I can do that. And you're like, well, you can, at least try, right? And I was like, fuck, yeah, of course I can. Why wasn't I thinking that? But as soon as you said that, it was like, perfect. Yeah, I need to know that.
Probably something you already knew, but that kind of made it.
Yeah, because I was just like, I don't want to fucking do that.
Yeah, I know, right?
NT's personal. It's personal, and it's private. Yeah. It's like, I want to go do that by myself and then just deliver it to you. and have you think, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. If I show you a castle I built with Legos, I don't expect you to knock it the fuck over so we can build another one. You know what I mean?
So, I mean, what you have to do is you have to take the ego out of it and say, I'm going to throw things out there, and, you know, we're going to try to work together to find the right thing that everybody's happy with.
Props to you, man, because that must have been so difficult. Because then you're like, I mean,
if you've suffered a long time by not treating this situation well, it's very easy to say, I gotta fucking change how I'm.
Sure.
Because now what happens is, like I was talking, I see that I'm triggered. Oh, I just threw some TI and NT out there, and it's not being taken the way I thought. I was like, what's happening? She's doing NT play. Okay, I get that, and that she gets a lot of value from doing that too. I've seen.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is something she needs to do.
Yeah.
I need to somehow find a way to do it with her, because I know what happens when I don't. It sucks.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easy with masculine TI, maybe, to push yourself. It's like, look, bitch, you got to do it this new way, whether you like it or not, because it sucks to not do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. Because I think a lot of people's reaction, or my own reaction, might have been to like, I'm just going to stop sharing NT stuff. If you want to do this NT play, we'll do something that's outside of something that I'm actually NT, because I don't want to put something out there for you not to understand it and then shit on it, and then me have to explain it and you still not getting it, and then just don't want to.
Yeah, it's hard to do the stuff that's hard, right? Yeah.
So what happens with SF play then? Is it kind of the mirror situation, or how does that go?
That's that. SF play has been the hardest thing for me to see in myself, because I think there has to be a missing coin here, because I see the people that have savior play in general. Some people do play for the sake of play. They like doing it. Mm-hmm. It's something that they do. And for me, it seems like it's something I do as a means to an end. I want to get to infodom stuff. I want to get to blast and consume. Okay. And sometimes I know I have to get information from you that you have that I just can't go consume on my own. I have to get it from somebody. And I'll be like, okay, how do I get them to blast something? Or just consume report or whatever. You have the information. I want you to give it to me. Mm-hmm. I have to use play to try to, hey, Dave, how's it going? You know, try to get you to give me the information, the info that I need or want. And that's how I see that I'll use it. Or if we're interacting and we're blast, consume, sharing back and forth, and maybe the vibe's going in a weird place because you said something or whatever, or I said something, and I'm like, I'll throw out a funny thing that maybe has something to do with something we said earlier. Mm-hmm. I see that as sort of play where I'm like, the vibe is a little off. Let me say something funny, but tie it to some other things that we were talking about. And it's like, those are the only main ways that I see doing SF play, is like trying to get somebody to give me some information as a means to an end. But then I see other people like, Jimmy Fallon or whoever that's got savior play, that's got our functions, Will Smith or, Terry Crews, all those guys. And they're just playing for the fun of it. They love it. And I'm just like, okay, I don't ever do that, or I don't see myself doing it. Maybe I'm blind to it. Maybe I am doing it all the time. But most of my day is me by myself in my head. And then when I interact with people, I just want to blast, consume, is how I see it. Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. So like SF play is not really about the SF. It's more just a means to an end, just how you get information to build your NP.
I would more want to talk about abstract concepts with people. Mm-hmm. And like for me, the idea of SF play is I'm aware of the sensory spectrum, and I'm aware of the values about the sensory. It's like people value the sensory more than that sensory, and then having a conversation with you where we're talking about that. Mm-hmm. Oh no, this sensory is better than that. Oh, but this, Mm-hmm. Why would I ever want to do that? I have no desire to ever do that.
Sure. Do you use SF play to figure out what people like, though?
To me, it might be more of just observation, listening to people, like take me in. Yeah. Oh, I see these people are valuing that. Oh, these people don't. Like you start to see a trend over time. a lot of people are really buying this new car, this new
Yeah.
Ford, whatever, Bronco's out now. Everybody's driving that. It's like that must be popular. It's more just taking in, not. I don't go around like bop people on the head trying to get understanding of what they're valuing.
Yeah.
It's just
that
seeing
makes,
it.
yeah.
You start seeing patterns. Oh, I'm seeing a lot of these cars now, and or whatever the case, or people talking about sports. You just hear, oh, a lot of people are this team over here. Yeah, it's like, or this player, or this, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think with SF play for for me, even, yeah, for me, I'm taking like a pretty strong notice when somebody says they like something or this is what they're valuing or whatever. It like mine immediately grabs onto that. But yeah, I'm not bonking them over the head either, I guess, if I think about it. It's just kind of like I just end up talking about it and then I remember it. You know what I mean? That seems like for me the easiest way to connect to the tribe is to remember what their preferences are, and the easiest thing to track for me is sensory stuff, right? So it's like, okay, they like this is blah blah blah, this.
Do you see that pretty quickly and remember it? Because it seems like me, I have to see something like multiple times, and it's like I see the pattern that they like something. But it takes a while.
With like trends and overall stuff, yeah, totally. Okay. But with a specific person, I would say no. As soon as they mention that, I remember it usually. And depending on the person too, I think. But for some reason, my mind has really put a lot of importance on remembering those things. So it doesn't. I usually don't filter that out. Out of all the stuff, I'm probably filtering out.
Okay.
That'll get in.
Maybe because it's demon for you. Because for me, it's like there's probably like overconfidence in those areas where it's like I'll eventually see that they like that thing if I see it enough times or whatever. Like I'm not so overly concerned to notice it. Maybe because it's like it's so easy, whatever. I'll see it. But that's good to see that you're putting that effort there, because we probably all should do that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you're like, I don't know, as an IP, you're finding some way to connect to the tribe, and usually you do it in kind of a very specific, odd way. You don't just connect. You like, okay, I have to make them laugh, or I have to remember what their favorite color is, or you know what I mean. Like you just kind of do that, and probably for an INFJ, maybe that's.
Does it seem fake at all to you?
Does it seem fake? No, I don't think so. Because I mean, the intention is to build a connection. I'm just kind of stupid about doing it, and this is the best way I know how. So,
because I'm working with that in therapy right now, is trying to connect with people, like understanding it, because being blind to my emotions, it's like, and being brought up like being emotional is bad and wrong. I shouldn't do it. It's like, to me, connecting with people, I just want to share information, like info dump shit, right? And then I see, oh, this person's safe to, have this back and forth about information. And then over time, if we share, common interests and stuff, then I'm like, okay, there's a connection here. I didn't share any emotions. We didn't connect over emotions. And I see that that's not really how other people are doing it. I've noticed it's a lot about connecting on an emotional level. And I'm like, okay, shit, I'm not doing that part. That's probably why I have such a hard time connecting with people. Because I'm not, to me, doing those things that I see, I could do them. I could fake them. But it seems like it's a means to an end. It's like, I want a connection with this person. I know if I do this, this, and this, that emotionally, that will move them, and that there will be more of a connection there. But then I'm like, but this is fake. Like, if I were doing that, they would like me for being fake. And I don't want that. So I'm stuck because of these beliefs I have are screwing me up. And go ahead.
If you blast and consume with someone, do you start connecting with them? Meaning, do you start?
I start seeing them. I start seeing them in a different way. Like, okay, there's a connection here because we're sharing a lot of information, and I see that they're safe for this because I'm wanting the information to get better. It's like, I have this part, you have that part. Let me see your part. Oh, okay. I thought it was this, not that. Oh, okay. Like, we're fixing the information between us. And I'm like, this is a safe person to do that with. And they're treating that exchange appropriately. Like for an info dom, it's like there's a lot of respect around sharing information. And when you treat it from this is ridiculous stuff, but when you treat it wrong, like you're joking and silly and giving me little bits of, to to me, that's like, this person doesn't care. They're not treating this exchange at the appropriate level.
Yeah.
Which I get that's crazy because there's energy dumps out there and they don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to understand that better and be
Yeah.
more chill about that. You know?
Like us thinkers, especially, like we feel like to connect with someone, for it to be a real, not a fake one, there has to be some weird magical emotional jubilee or something. But I think a lot of times connections do have like a purpose to them. Like there is like an intention there that, you know, whether it's exchanging information or whatever. And I think that's just what humans do, right? Like, I mean, that's the basis on why we connect is essentially to help us survive, right? So if the fact that it's based on exchanging information is just a genuine connection as any other connection, I would think. And I don't know. I'm also a thinker idiot, so I can tell you. But well, you're not a thinker technically, but you're very thinkery like. So I guess it's premise there, but
it's hard to understand. Yeah. I'm reading some books now to try to understand emotions better and to try to. I'm looking actually for one. If anyone knows of anything, I want to understand like how people are emotionally connecting. Like, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? How do you get to the point where it doesn't seem fake? Because, but I think that's my trauma that I went through. It's like that's why I'm seeing it that way.
Yeah, I can struggle with like figuring that out as well. Sometimes like you'd be surprised at what kind of connection you have, I think, a lot of times. And then you just aren't aware of it until something happens and you're like, oh, wow, actually, there's a lot of feelings down there for this person. I just, for some reason, can't see it until like, you know, something happens. And then I'm like, oh, shit, wow, I have a ton of feelings for this person. And I didn't know it. I thought I was just an emotional, like I'm just a cold robot or whatever. But no, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that I'm just not seeing for some reason. And so it makes you feel like you're not connecting with people when there is one. You just don't like see it. You know what I mean? Can you relate to that at all? Or
no,
not really.
What happens is I'll see that I'm about to say something maybe online or whatever to someone, and before I actually say it, you know, post it or whatever, I start doubting. Like it's like, why am I saying this? Am I just trying to? Because I instantly start thinking I'm being fake because I'm trying to make some connection with someone by relating to them. Like they said something, and I'm like, oh, I could say this, and I could say like I instantly start thinking of how to say it. I might spend 20 minutes or something making some thing to say, and I'm like, why am I even doing this? Do I even really believe what I'm saying here, or why am I? It's like I want to say it to. And it's like,
yeah,
I'm just being fake here. Why am I even doing this?
Does it feels fake because you have like a TI explanation of why you're doing it? Is that like what makes it fake?
Because well, probably being blind to my emotions is part of it. Because I'm like, I can't see that I genuinely, you know, what I'm saying isn't genuine from my perspective. I can't really see that because what happens is I'll think all these things to say, and then I'll start looking inside and say, trying to see, is there emotions here in me for what I'm saying, and I don't see them. So then it's like, this must be fake. Like, why am I saying this?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can relate to that.
So I need to understand what's happening there.
Yeah. So could it be that those emotions are actually there?
I think they are.
That's actually what's driving the thing. But you put an explanation on it that you're supposed to have, and that explanation you feel like is true or that whatever. But that's just what you're telling yourself. But deep down, there's actually the emotions are running the show. But since you can't see them, you don't know that that's what's happening. So you give some explanation to it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's something to be considered, because I've thought about that with myself as well. When sometimes I do things that I feel like they're coming from emotions, but I can't feel them necessarily. But you know, I think like, you know what? Actually, I think they're actually there. I think we're too focused on the rationalization part of things to where we're not like actually seeing what's really running the show.
It has to make sense to me on a deep level. Like, why am I doing this? What's the point of this? Is it real? Like, because it really is a thing for me. I don't want to be fake. Like, if I have a connection with you because I was fake, it's like, what the hell is that? That's not real. Like, why would I even want that?
So what would have to happen in order for you to not see it as fake?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out, actually. Yeah. I'm working on that. I don't know. I don't even know if I can get there. It might not be something I'm capable of doing. I might just have to get, you know. I
mean, being told that you can't have emotions and all that trauma and stuff, you know, maybe it's gotten to where your mind won't believe that there's actually emotions there, right? That you're just.
I mean, I do believe that they are there. there's something there because I can sense the chemicals that are happening in me.
Okay.
My state change is happening. I can see that. But I just never learned how to label them. I don't save any like emotional information, like events that happened in my life. Someone's like, "What's the happiest moment of your life?" That's the hardest question for me because you have to have an awareness that you had happiness and then save it and tie it to, as a pointer to this event.
It also has to be way bigger than the other ones or else you won't know either, right?
Yeah. How do you rank them, right? It's like they're all on the same level, right? But so it's like I instantly start thinking, okay, what are big events? Okay, is it appropriate to say that one thing? Is the person going to think, yeah, that's a good answer? And then I'm like, okay, do I even mean that? And I'm like, how would I even know? I don't know.
Yeah.
So then then you start stressing, like I got to give an answer because it's taking me too long to think of something. And you just say something. But then if someone asked me again, I'd probably give a different answer because it's not real. And then I'm like, why am I doing all this work, mental work, to give an answer that isn't? I don't even know if it's real.
Yeah.
Or the saddest moment in your life or whatever. It's like you just instantly start thinking, okay, what are the things that happen that are appropriate to give as an answer here? And then I start
are you able to come up with things that were happy moments and things that were sad? You just can't pick the best one, or is it completely like blank for the most part?
It's completely blank.
Okay.
I know appropriate answers.
Okay.
Like happy, for example, like my wedding to my wife. Oh yeah. Or my daughter's birth. That's a good answer. I can't rank it. I don't see anything there. I can't say that was a happy moment. I know that it probably was because I'm not an idiot. But I don't have it. I can't look at it and see that emotion is there tied to that event.
How do you feel about that? Is that like, does it bother you that do you feel like you're just giving the answer that should be given? Or?
It bothers, yeah, because I've stopped doing it now. I don't do it. When I'm asked, I'm like, okay, this is the situation. I have this thing, and I don't see them.
Yeah,
I can't really give an honest answer. I can tell you about moments of my life and tell you what they were like. But I'm not even remembering like my internal state, like even like the physical stuff, like traumatic things. I can remember. Oh yeah, I had a tightness in my chest. I was sweating. My heart was beating 100 miles an hour. I can tell you events where that happened, and that's probably fear or anxiousness or something like that. I can try to label it.
Yeah.
If I look at it from an external point of view, and I said, if someone was having these things, what would I think is the emotion that they were having? And I can come up with an answer there. But when I've tried to do that for myself, I can come up with stuff that it's like, it's probably that. And then I start thinking, is it that? I don't know. I don't see it. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I don't know. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah. On the part about labeling your emotions, I was reading something interesting about that not too long ago. That actually all your emotions are kind of conceptualized. So they're not like, there's not an actual like fear. That's not an actual like biological response. There's affect, which is the biological response, right? Or whatever. You probably heard about this.
I'm aware of that. Yeah.
Then you have to come up with something given the context to label it, right? So I think like, I don't know, maybe like thinking what this person would be like in this situation, and that's kind of how you're labeled. Maybe it's not too far off. I don't know.
Yeah, I've just started doing that. And it's like, I can do that. But then I'm like, what's the point? Like, what am I going to do with that information?
Yeah.
I think for me, at least, with that feminine FE, it's like, if I just wait long enough, those chemicals go away and I'm back to normal. So it's like, I've processed my thoughts, but it's like, why would I need to process any feelings? It's like, I'm not even aware of them and they're gone so fast. You just got to get out of the situation and process your thoughts, and chemicals are gone and you're back to normal. It's like,
in the bit we were talking about, like, how you just have to, or what we are talking about, we have to come up with, when somebody asks you what your happiest moment was, you just give like what would be the appropriate answer for that. I can relate to that too. But I think when I do that, I feel actually really guilty. I feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. Like, what am I really like just some kind of fucking robot? Why can't I, you know what I mean? Do you feel that way too? Or are you being a double decider? It's probably like, not a big deal. Or
it just seems like you're being fake to me. Is how I see it. It's like,
but there's not like self-hatred or anything that comes from it or anything like that, is there?
No, it's more, in the past, it was more like, I have to give an answer here that seems acceptable.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say something and they're like, that's a weird thing to say, or something like that. Or why would you say that? Or how about this thing? Wasn't this thing better than that thing?
Yeah.
I just want to give something that just next question, gets past that. And it seems fake. It's like, and then I'm like, what if they ask me this again in like a year? And when they remember what I said, but they just want to see what I said.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the same thing.
It's going to be something different probably because I don't remember.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, you probably would give a different answer because, I mean, you're also a different person at that point too than you were a year ago as well. So maybe that runs into it. Staying consistent on answers. Actually, I found that the more I've been paying attention to that is actually nobody's consistent with the shit that they say. Really, like nobody is. If you listen to somebody get asked the same question all the time, like it's a different thing every time. And you're like, wait, what do you really believe? And sometimes I don't even know if any of us really know what we believe. The moment's different each time.
Yeah.
And the context and our emotional state, everything's different every time that we're, asked for that information.
Yeah.
And so when we spit something out, I don't think that necessarily means we don't know. I think it just means that I think,
you're generating that answer in the moment.
Yeah. And so
some variable could be different.
A lot of variables are different. Yeah. It feels like we're the same and everything should be the same. We know exactly what we think and what we feel, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, there's a lot going on that, I think we don't see for sure. So yeah, well, this has been a really cool comment. I like the subject matter because it's definitely something I'm also exploring too. So yeah, it's been really cool to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm reading a good book now on that. It's how emotions are made. A book I'm reading right now, which is very similar to what you were just saying about the concepts and So that's.
I wonder if it's by the same lady because there's how emotions.
Her name's Lisa Feldman.
Oh, that might be her actually.
Barrett, maybe.
I think that might be the same person actually. I don't remember what I read from her. It might have been the same one. I don't even remember. This is like a year ago. But yeah, that name sounds familiar. Yeah, I wonder if that is the same person. How funny. We're on to the same, consuming the same thing.
Consuming the same stuff.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, I think we kind of talked about this a little bit already, but yeah. So how do you feel like, in a nutshell, OP has helped you? If it seems like it's helping you be around with people,
it's helped me a lot. But I guess not so much on the animals and functions necessarily, like demon stuff. I guess sleep, processing me information. That's helped a lot, and just to understand other people and fix like issues with my marriage and stuff. I mean, our marriage is good, but there's always, when you're with someone a long time, areas where if I go there, there's some tension or whatever. So then over the years you learn, okay, let's not go in that area right there because every time we poke that, something bad happens. And now learning this stuff and learning her type and everything, it's like, okay, we're gonna deal with these situations because that sucks to have those areas where you're like, you have to tiptoe around and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, what's happening here? Let's talk about it, because now we can talk about it based on functions. Oh, you're doing this here, and I'm doing that. It's like, oh, that's what you're doing there, and understand each other better on a deeper level. It's like, like things about her that I didn't get that bothered me. It's like, oh, now I understand it, and now I can see it in a totally different light.
Yeah.
And they don't bother me at all. I mean, I could, you start working on it, you start getting triggered and you're like, over time, immediately you're like, I see it happen. And there's not really, it never goes into that negative place. It's like, oh, this is what this is. You've seen it enough times.
Yeah. When you know where it comes from, it doesn't turn into a negative thing.
It takes a little bit of time, but then, it's like, I want things to be better. I know that this area makes us suffer, both of us.
Yeah.
So let's work on it. It's easy.
And
there's a lot of value to be had from doing that. So a lot of motivation there. So
great. Yeah. It sounds like based on what we said, it sounds like OP's helped a hell of a lot for me as well, for sure. Last and final question. What is your spirit animal of your last function, Jordan?
Of the SE. Yeah. I thought you were going to forget this question.
I forgot it last time, but you pointed it out and I was like, got to actually read that.
Sure. Yeah. We need to get her to comment and let us know.
I feel like we need to like have one more 30-second video of what that is.
Yeah, like
So yeah.
I try to think about like what sensory chaos animal would, maybe like a stampeding rhino or something, like just blasting, or like the bulls of Pamplona or something, like this wild, just massive, muscular like beast.
You see, the SE is the chaos maker. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Something like that. I was gonna say something silly, but yeah, probably something like that. Just like, it's just gonna bust through things. Some animal that's like massive.
Okay, like some
Just
sort of rhino or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fitting, especially in the context of being Savior and I. The SE looks like something random and something that fucks everything up.
Yeah. Like if you're camping or something, it's a wild animal just rushes through, like tears up everything.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Nice. Well, great. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. This was a really good conversation. Thanks everyone that watched. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments, and we'll see you next time for episode 23. Take it easy, everyone.
See you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.